McDonnell, aka Lady Bam, and Mina Sharp and I of the Lady Bam podcast are happy to tell you we're back on board. We took a little bit of a break, and this is our very first podcast during the quarantine, and we're very, very honored to have this opportunity to speak to all of you. We hope you're well. We are deeply sorry if you have loved ones who are struggling or loved ones who have passed. This is a global grieving going on, as well as a global commitment to hope. Those are two things that aren't necessarily always compatible, and this is asking or somewhat demanding from us that they be compatible. So we'll be talking about all kinds of things like that in the days to come. We've got a lot of good people that we will be speaking to and getting out for you as quickly as our brilliant Mina can edit them. For our first guest during COVID-19, we're very, very happy to bring to you a conversation with the beloved Marina Sirtis. As you all know, she has just returned to us in a fantastic, beautiful performance in PICARD. And it was just amazing for me to see that woman, Deanna, is exactly the same and more beautiful and wiser and more centered and wonderfully articulate emotionally. It was just great to watch. It was really fun for me and very rewarding to talk to this powerful, powerful woman. So without any further ado, Lady Bam Podcast brings to you Marina Sirtis. So, Marina.
Mary.
So, I don't know. I look forward to this all morning. It was just to be able to speak to you in the middle of all of this feels really heartwarming to me.
It does.
Even though I think the first time we ever really talked was last year in DC.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
But it was such a nice intimacy immediately, and I didn't forget it. I just felt like, oh, this is a woman I admire from afar, and now this is a woman.
You know what? You literally took the words out of my mouth, because I was just going to say, when you admire someone as I have admired you from afar for many years, there is a connection somehow, because I felt it too because we were convention friends. We said hello and hi, but we never really talked until that one day, and we really talked. I think it was plastic surgery that got us talking, wasn't it?
I think it was too. What else gets women talk?
We hadn't had any.
I know. We were like, wow. We were telling each other how good we looked.
Yeah. and it was like, okay. Yeah. I have a great dermatologist in Greece.
I know you did. You said, you've got to call this guy. He's so good. Oh, my God, that's so funny. Well, let me ask this then. When you meet women in the industry, I have not found, in general, that it's immediately easy to be intimate with other actresses always. Like, I think people make an assumption that it is. Or I've always felt great admiration for so many and really fun to meet, but not necessarily do I feel the trust that I need to feel to begin to talk honestly.
Right.
And I know that we're set up to not have that trust. I know that it's cultural and it's inside the
Well, actually, can I interrupt you there, my darling?
Yeah, you can interrupt me anywhere. This is about you.
I don't think it's cultural. I think it's national, because I didn't find this in England.
Oh, good point.
I didn't.
Tell me what you've... Tell me the
My best friends in England are actresses.
Oh, isn't that wonderful?
That's
great.
Apart from a few school friends that I'm still in touch with that I've known since I was 11, we won't even go into that, how long that is. But I think because I've always said this about American actors.
Yeah.
A lot of American actors become actors to get rich and famous.
Right.
There's not a single British actor who becomes an actor to get rich and famous.
Not even
because
one?
you don't in England. It's why we all come to America.
I know, because you can't in England, right?
You can't earn that, you just can't earn that kind of money in England. Yeah. And so there is this camaraderie amongst actors of male and female, like, we're all in this together. Yes, yes. And yes, there are, as you don't always like people, you don't always like everyone you meet. But I'm thinking, like, my very best friend in the world was an actress that I met in the theatre. We were doing Godspell together and Hunchback of Notre Dame. And we've been best friends ever since. Yeah. No. Well, listen, let me restate it. I have some incredible lifelong friends who are actresses. Actresses, right. Whom I met in the theater, which is different. In the theater, right, yeah. But I guess what I'm experiencing, and maybe you do too in Hollywood, when you work with actresses for a long period of time, I do find that this amazing bond begins to almost secretly develop. But in Hollywood, I guess, or in the sort of the fame of camera, the exposure that brings, I feel like there is a bit of a setup to keep us distant. I think that it's not just for actors. I know, I'll take my TNG cast. Yeah. We know without doubt that the producers and the studio hated that we got along so well. Tell it like it is, sister. Right? They don't want the cast to get along. They definitely don't want the cast to talk about money. No, that's true. Right? That's true. They don't want to. And it always surprises me. Yes, it surprises me that the big they out there would think that actors wouldn't talk about money. Well, that's what I'm saying. On my show, they really tried to divide us. Oh, wow. Listen, it's 30 years ago. I can talk about it now. Of course you can. Yeah. Because I was the loudmouth, the obnoxious one, the one that was always throwing tantrums and yelling at people, and Is that really true? That is true. That was me. In fact, it's become part of the Star Trek vernacular. Marina's throwing a wobbly. Wobbly is an English term for, having a bit of a tantrum. So now everyone calls it throwing a wobbly. And I threw many a wobbly. I did. Yeah. I've hands up. I fess up. But I was always called into the dean's office to get yelled at. Yep. While I was getting yelled at, they would try to tell me that all the cast felt the same way, that I was disruptive, that I was... Yeah. And I knew that wasn't true. But they knew that if they got to me, that was going to be big. Yeah. Because I was like the den mother. Right. Right. So if they were able to tame you, then the rest of the cast would follow suit. Yeah. If they were able to if they could alienate me from the rest of the cast. And I was like, have we met? Really. I know. Have you ever met me? Hello. Exactly. Loyalty to me is big. Yes. Now, I'm a very loyal person. I'm very loyal to my friends. If I love you, I will take a bullet for you. Yeah. But if I don't like you, you know it, right, Mina? Yeah. Like you make it clear to me. Yes. Now, let me ask you a question. Did you always have that quality as a child of being the person who was willing to, whatever it took, sort of bring the truth forward? Like, throw a wobbly? Well, I didn't have a voice in my house. Oh, wow. Interesting. Okay. Because I'm Greek. And Greek kids don't have a voice. I mean, Greek girls especially. Actually, I'll qualify that. Greek boys have a voice. Greek girls don't have a voice in a Greek family. To the extent that, because my mother had an arranged marriage, she saw no reason why I shouldn't have an arranged marriage. Right. Right. So I didn't have a voice in my house. But outside the house, I made up for it. Right. And when did you know you were an actress? When I was 3. When you were 3? Yeah, apparently, I don't remember this, but apparently when I would, on the buses in London, I would stand up on the seat and sing Que Sera, Sera to all the other passengers. Boy, they would love you to do that now, I bet. I bet they would. I'm not as cute as I was then.
Oh, yes, you are, though. Yes, yes, you are. And so you just knew.
Well, I lived in the
you knew.
I lived in the television because my childhood was very unhappy. And so I lived in the TV.
Right.
And that's where I wanted to be. I wanted to be in the television.
Right. So when did you do your first play? I hope you don't mind me asking these questions.
Well, well, basically, when I told my mum that I wanted to be an actress, what she heard was, "Hi, Mum, I want to be a prostitute." Because that to her is what actresses are or were,
Yeah.
So I wasn't even allowed to do school plays.
Oh, wow.
Right, yeah, they really discouraged it. And so when I was 16, I realized that I had to do something. So I did do a school play. I lied to my mother. I told her when we had rehearsal, I told her I had detention.
She had no trouble
She
believing
totally
that.
believed, which she totally believed.
That's wonderful. Oh my God.
And so I did my first play was actually at the local boys' school, because I went to an all-girls school. At the local boys' school, I played, I think it was a French kind of flamboyant lady in a play called The Happy Apple. and then I played, and then because I was going to be an actress and I went to an all-girls school, we did 12th Night. And so they said, well, choose what you want to play because you're going to be an actress. So, okay, I'll ask you, Mary, if you were doing 12th Night, what part would you want to play?
Well, I did do 12th Night, and I was cast as Olivia.
Okay, well, guess what I wanted to play?
I can't imagine. What
Malvolio.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet you.
I wanted to play Malvolio.
Yes.
It's the best part.
It's a great role.
It's a great role. And people, but it's not one of the leads. And I'm like, no, but it's the best part.
It's the most fun.
And that's always been my thing. I don't care about being number one on the call sheet. What's the best part?
Yeah. Now, can we just jump ahead here for a minute because I just watched your episode on PICARD. And it was fascinating to me because I haven't looked at the series yet, right? It's on my docket. And I promised Jonathan Del Arco that, good friend, and I want to see all of you, and I want to see what it is. But I wanted to see you so I could talk about that. And I was not prepared for the depth of your performance, not because I wasn't prepared for you to do that, but I just didn't. It was beautiful and it was so layered. And I'm wondering, did you experience that episode as a leap forward or a continuation of what you did for years and years? Or is it that you, Marina, where talk about that if you don't mind.
Well, I think a lot of things happened. And I think it was encapsulated in PICARD because it was captured on the screen.
Yes.
Right. I mean, so it's there on film or on digital or whatever the hell they use now.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize until I was into my 50s that I can do this shit.
Oh, wow. You just took my breath away. You realized in your 50s how good you were.
But I could do this. I could practice my craft.
Yeah. And what's the difference between
the freedom? The freedom. It was like a weight lifted off my shoulders.
Right.
Because first of all, I'm not going to worry about how I look.
Right.
I'm 65 years old. If I look good,
it's great. Yeah.
So that's not an issue anymore.
Right.
So that's a freedom, isn't it? You know this,
sure
having been a pretty young actress. Hello.
Oh, it's such a freedom.
It's a trap.
It's such a trap. And it took me forever to get out of it, too. So I do understand that. I look back at some of the work I did now because I don't like to look at my look. I don't look at all. But in the last, I would say, few years, and partially because of technology and the wonderful fans who are always showing us what we did, I have seen more of my work, and every time I'm shocked. I look at myself and I go, I'm so surprised. I had no idea I was good like that. Or I had no idea that I was really that nice to look at.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of it.
I
didn't. I struggled the whole time, wondering if I was enough, you know?
I know. I didn't. I never, I look at pictures now of myself and I'm like, I was bloody gorgeous.
You were. Yeah,
I was like,
exactly.
why didn't I realize this?
I know.
Why was I so insecure? Okay, no, really, why was I bulimic? Why did I have an eating disorder for 20 years of my life? Because I was so insecure. When I looked like that, what was wrong with my head?
I know. I feel that way at times too, and I've had a lot of therapy, which I'm sure you have. Hopefully,
well, when I had an eating disorder, I had to have a lot of therapy to get better.
Was it bulimia?
Oh, apparently, I was bulimic with an anorexic personality, so I swang to, and I covered both bases.
Oh, you
I played for both teams. Yeah.
Oh my God. So. And how many years did you struggle with this
20,
in an acute way?
20. Over 20 years, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
From the age of 13 until I was in my mid-30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And where did you find you received the most help with getting a handle on how to balance it?
Group therapy.
Group. And why group? Oh, this is so fascinating. Why group?
Because you take the role in the group that you take in life.
Oh.
So it's like a microcosm of the outside world in group, right?
Yeah.
So I went into the group and took over.
No surprise there.
And they didn't know anything about me for a long time, but I was fixing all of them.
And then they finally called you on it?
And then I trusted them. Trust.
Yeah.
And I trusted them enough to tell them my stuff.
That's so good. And now, how are you?
I'm fine. You know what? I don't regret anything in my life because I don't believe you should ever live your life in regrets because you can't change the past. You just learn from it.
Right.
So I would say that I'm just happy that I found the right person, found the right therapist and got better.
Yes. I think it's a wonderful thing for people to hear about, particularly right now, because Mina and I were talking about this earlier. The level of depression and psychological and emotional vulnerability right now among people, the longer we are in this situation, is really exploding. And I think that there's a lot of people out there who probably have not had therapy.
No. But you know what? It's talking. Yeah. It's talking. I had a Freudian therapist. The most I ever got out of her was, and how does that make you feel? I mean, come on, let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't until I went to a behavioral therapist that things got a little bit better. Actually got a lot better, right?
Yeah, I've had
But
too. Yeah.
if you take the Freudian model, just find someone you can talk to.
Correct. Yeah,
right?
That's true.
A good listener. That's all. Someone who's not going to interrupt you. Someone who's not going to put themselves and say, "Oh yeah, well I had that." Someone who will actually listen to you and empathize and maybe ask a question or two. Right. Eventually.
Yeah.
But it's talking.
Yes.
It's talk therapy. You don't have to pay $90 for 45 minutes to talk to someone.
No, you don't.
You just have to find the right person to talk to and trust them.
It's such good advice. It really is. Can we go back to PICARD for a second?
All right.
Did you like your work? Have you seen
You know what? Listen, again, the crazy person in my head just went, good grief, how fat am I? That was my
No,
first
you
reaction.
did not.
I know. But I was so skinny when I was Troi 30 years ago. And, I've put on probably 15, 20 pounds since then. So, because I was a stick insect, and when I saw my costumes, I was like, where did my organs go?
I know.
How did they fit in there? right?
Oh, that's
so now I'm shaped like a normal person, which of course in Hollywood terms is obese, right? So,
you look beautiful. You
anyway,
absolutely look gorgeous.
I liked, I am never satisfied with my work.
Yep.
Are you ever satisfied with your work?
Every once in a while, I go, oh, that was good.
Okay, a little bit, but not the whole thing, right? A little bit here, a
No.
little bit there. Yeah, exactly. So that's how I feel. There were little moments where I thought, oh, yeah, that was good. A little few moments where I thought, should have done another one. The normal reaction. But I have to say, Mary, the reason she was so flushed out, she was on the page.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Was she more on the page than in previous incarnations?
She was on the page.
Isn't that great? And why do you think she's on the page?
The writers, they're fantastic over there.
Fantastic. That's so great. Now, do you think that they are fantastic because we have evolved and people are writing women better?
I think so.
And are they younger? Have they been raised differently, these writers, or were there
a couple of them are
writers?
Younger? But they're not young. I mean, they're not as old as us, but they're not kids.
Yeah.
They're middle-aged people. They're middle-aged people. But no one's as old as us anymore, Mary. We're like, do you remember when you were the ingenue on the set? I remember when I was the ingenue.
I know. It's like I'm always the elder, and it doesn't matter.
I'm the oldest person on the set. Always.
Me too.
Always.
Like the last set I was on, I was literally the oldest person. There wasn't even a crew guy who was my age. You know what I mean? I mean, just like,
there are some, there are some like, cinematographers and things who look older because they're gray and they have beards. And I say, I'm the oldest person on the set. And they're like, no, you're not. And I'll be, well, how old are you? And I'm always 10 years older than them. So I'm like, shut up. I've got shoes older than you. But I think that the writers, first of all, you got to, I'm not going to diss my writers on TNG. They were turning out 26 shows a year.
That's amazing.
26.
I get it. Yep.
Right. These guys on PICARD, they did what, 10?
Yeah. Correct.
It's a different time frame. It's a different pressure. We were getting pages. You know what it's like on an episode.
I do.
We were getting pages that morning. We got pages sometimes after we shot the scene. If we were working fast that day, remember?
Yeah, that
it's a different dynamic.
You'd be like, oh no, we did it already.
Yeah, they have time to make it perfect on PICARD.
Yes, I get that. But I really, really do think that the way that the world perceives who you are, who she is, Deanna now, has matured in terms of our love and appreciation for what the older, wiser woman is not so much of a cliche anymore. I'm starting to see that more and more, that we perhaps are finally leaning a little bit into the feminine at a time when obviously the masculine is not doing a good job.
Well, the other thing is, we have to start. I think we talked about how I'm thinking of going back to London. Moving back.
Oh, you are. You're thinking about back. Yeah.
I am, because
talk about that.
I regard myself as a TV actress primarily. I love doing theatre. It would give me the opportunity to do. I did a play in London this summer.
I want to hear of it.
And it reminded me why I became an actress, to be honest. But TV in England is a woman's medium.
Yes. That's interesting.
You see, and it's not, and American television won't change until we follow that model. Because, I watch a lot of English programming. Most of the writers are women. Most of the producers are women. A lot of the directors are women.
Right.
So they write for women.
Right.
And because they're women of a certain age, like we are, or younger, they write for us.
Yeah.
Because, what we don't get here is the fact that we're 50% of the population.
Right.
And
more
women of our age spend a lot of money.
I know. And watch a lot of TV.
We watch a lot of TV and we spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
Whether it's on clothes or makeup or food or,
Education.
We spend a lot of money. But for some reason, the advertisers don't care about us.
Yes, that's true.
which I don't understand because we're the ones with a lot of disposable income.
Yeah, and more so. And I think that will change because more and more women are obviously making a great deal of money. I think our generation, they sort of misinterpreted how much money we spend and how we live and how much they could depend on us in terms of advertising. But I think that will change now because the generations following us are so much more obviously leading the way professionally.
Yeah, but you know what? The thing is, it hasn't translated into our business.
Yeah.
Our business is still a boys' club.
Yes. Given where we are right now with the really, really dramatic change in reality that we are in and the uncertainty of what form will look like as we come out, because it won't be like it was. There will be no return to normal. There will be a reinvention of how we have our lives and our commerce. What do you think will happen to the psychology of the feminist or the women's movement or Me Too or all of those issues that we were deeply in heading into this? You know, I mean, think about it. Sort of right at the beginning of the pandemic, Harvey Weinstein went to jail, finally. Do you know what I'm saying? Where do we, how do we, what do you think that will look like as we begin to create product again and we begin to be in some kind of transformed workspace? Do you know what I'm saying? I think about
first of all, the social distancing without being too crass about it is kind of stopping people from getting sexually assaulted at work. So that's always a plus. You know, Every cloud has a silver lining. But I feel like there's a commonality happening right now, a kind of camaraderie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've noticed. I mean, the only time I step out of my front door is to walk the dogs.
Yeah.
And people greet each other now. Even behind the mask, you know, they raise a hand or whatever. Yeah, so there's a kind of camaraderie happening. As far as the women's movement goes, I have to be honest, I despair. Yes. Because we still haven't passed the Equal Amendment Bill. You know, we're still not equal in the law.
No, we're not.
And
we're not. That's why I'm asking you.
It just boggles the mind that there are men in our Congress that still would vote against women being equal.
Of course. Yes. Yes. And next door to that, we are going to have a vice presidential nominee in the Democratic Party. Now that's pretty awesome, right?
Yes,
and it's a hard choice because there are so many extraordinary women who are ready for that job.
Well, funnily enough, I was just watching, cable news, which is what we're all doing way too much of right now.
Yeah.
And this goes immediately to that point. Mm-hmm. The countries that had women in charge have all done way better with this pandemic than the other countries that don't.
Yes, I think that's correct.
And so it just makes me think, if we'd had Hillary.
Oh, I know. I can't even get through the documentary about Hillary. I keep trying to, and I do enjoy it, and then I get overwhelmed, I guess, with grief.
Grief. That's exactly what it is. It's grief.
And right now, it's almost unapproachable for me because I can't pull myself out of the level of grief that I feel knowing that people literally are dying today because she
is she's not our president. I know. Yeah. I know.
And I think also, in thinking about vice presidential candidates, I'm thinking about the governor of Georgia who took that election away from Stacey Abrams. If Stacey Abrams were the governor of Georgia right now, less people would be dying.
Yeah.
It's crystal clear.
They only shut down Georgia last week because my in-laws live in Georgia. So
it's crazy down there. There's two governors who I think are really doing very bad jobs. There's many, actually.
South Dakota.
South Dakota, thank you, dear, and Florida and Georgia. And I'm not sure if I understand what's happening in every other state, but those three seem to be alarmingly.
Well, South Dakota, because that's where the pork packing plant that has 400 people infected who've just gone into the community, and there's no lockdown. The mayor of that town was begging her to shut down just his town, and she wouldn't do it.
No, she won't.
400 people going about their business, infecting all and sundry.
Yeah. There is a certain kind of psychosis that we're seeing, that there is it's part of the presidency, and it is showing up now in governors who support his agenda, but it's deeper than an agenda. It seems to be a kind of disturbed mentality that really has disconnected from reality.
It's like the people who think that, Jesus will protect them if they go to church.
Well, I think there's some people who think that, who are not willing to say, I won't shut my
Sure.
town. But I don't think it's quite the same, but I do think that there is I don't know if it's born out of decades and decades of quiet greed that we just kind of ignored. I'm not sure where the mental switcheroo occurs
but
in a human being.
The switcheroo has happened because we're finally beginning to realize, and I don't know why the hell it's taken us as long as it has, about the income disparity.
Correct.
It probably happened that we became aware after 2008, 2009, after the crash.
Right.
And then everyone was in the same boat. Everyone was struggling. I mean, I had to sell my house at that time. I had, financial issues. I wasn't left out of that crisis.
Right.
And suddenly, 10 years, not suddenly, but 10 years later, those people who were at the bottom are still at the bottom.
Yeah.
And yet all the bankers, everybody who had money in the stock market will look at they got, even with the losses that we've had, they've been making billions of dollars.
Right.
And so the income inequality has really come to the fore since the crash. And I think that's what people are aware of now. And I think that's where the discontent is. I really do believe that's the main thing we have to fix in America.
But what is it inside a human being, such as the governor of South Dakota or that governor in Florida? What happens inside a person that they can convince themselves that allowing people to die
is okay?
Where does that happen?
I don't know, but it happens. I won't name the person, but it's a very good friend of mine who I've known for over 30 years, who is a Republican. And when we've discussed universal health care, he says, why should I pay for someone else's health care? And that's the mentality, you see. That's the mentality. I try to explain the economics of it to him because, there's a lot of disinformation out there about universal health care or Medicare for all, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. People assume, the argument is, well, I'm happy with my insurance. And I'm like, well, that's fine, because if you were in England, you could keep that insurance.
Right. That's right.
Because we have private health insurance.
Yes.
If you want your varicose veins done tomorrow,
you can do it.
You can have health insurance and have it done tomorrow. If you if you can't afford the posh health insurance, If you and you may have to wait, I admit, you may have to wait 2 years to get your varicose veins done because it's not emergent, it's not like life or death.
Yeah.
But if you break a leg or get knocked down by a car or have a heart attack or have a, or even, break your, whatever it is, cut your finger off, you know you can go to the hospital and you're not going to get a bill.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
But you can keep your health insurance. If you want health insurance and you want to go to the fancy schmancy doctors on Harley Street, you can have it.
You can have it too. Yes, indeed. I don't know what's going to happen with all of this, but I'm very excited some days that we will potentially have a cabinet and an administration with the likes of Elizabeth Warren. Do you know what I'm saying? If we can get this done, we do have the potential of transforming.
Well, I have to be honest.
You're going to leave
anyway.
People
were saying, the last election was the most important election. Oh, this election is the most important election. This election is the most important election.
Right.
Because what's done is done. We can't change that.
Right.
I worry about what America will look like in 4 years.
Either way.
I do. Because I just worry that he will use this pandemic to erode our civil liberties.
He is using.
Yeah. So he's trying to.
Yeah.
And that's what worries me about 4 more years.
Right. Understandable. Because it is obvious that is what is.
Because that's what they're doing in other countries that have authoritarian leaders.
Correct. It's global. It isn't just America. Is it?
And will he even give up the power in 4 more years?
Well, I think even Mitch McConnell will stand up to him if he tries to do that. I hope.
I don't know. It depends on what kind of deal he's got with Trump.
I was like, you know what? I was singing yesterday. I don't know why Mrs. Robinson popped into my head when I was watching Barack Obama.
She would be great.
And it came into my head. Where have you gone, Barack Obama? The nation turns its lonely eyes to you.
I love that. You should record the whole thing. Write a new.
That's about as good as it gets with my voice. That's about all you can do.
You have a lovely voice. So let me ask you a more personal, I guess, question, if you don't mind. How are you doing since you lost your dear Michael? How has that been for you?
Oh.
Because that's not long ago.
It was December the 8th.
Oh, my gosh.
And, he would have been going crazy now, by the way. But he would have been totally climbing the walls because he was a total adrenaline junkie. He was out the house all the time. He was surfing and golfing and mountain bike riding and snowboarding and hang gliding. Anyone want to buy a hang glider? I have so much stuff.
Oh my God.
But it's good days and bad days. And today's a good day.
I'm so glad.
But I have some really bad days because we were together for 30 years.
Boy. Oh, boy.
Half my life. Actually, we were together for 32 years. We were together for exactly half my life when he passed.
Good heavens.
I just, now that the real kind of screaming the house down grief is over, although that does happen on occasion, I apologize to my neighbors.
No.
I just look back and think how blessed I was to have that for 32 years.
Oh, no. It sounds, from what you say and what I've seen, thinking about talking to you today, it appeared to be an absolutely beautiful relationship. And I remember you telling me about him in Washington.
Well, like I said, every marriage has its ups and downs, and we had our hard times as well as our good times, and the hard times can be really hard sometimes.
Sure.
But we stayed.
Yeah, you did. And when you think about the fact that he doesn't have to endure being inside the house right now, do you ever think about timing in a kind of synchronistic manner, or do you just feel like there's a randomness to everything?
Well, if I look at it unselfishly, I think what a beautiful way to go. He died peacefully in his sleep.
Right.
I didn't even realize he was gone because he was just looked asleep. He's not having to endure this. So for him, this is fantastic that he's in a better place. But for me, it's kind of a double whammy, I have to be honest.
It is. That's what I was thinking. It must feel that way because you are now here alone, going through the alone time, alone. Like it does feel a double whammy. And you seem very powerful in it, if I may say that. I mean, to be able to just talk freely and honestly and emotionally honestly about it when it wasn't that long ago is very powerful, Marina. I'm very grateful that you're willing to talk about him and to talk about your own heart I mean, yelling and screaming in your apartment and apologizing to your neighbors. I get it. I mean, I can't imagine, but you're communicating a very real picture of grief endured. And a lot of us lose our way during grief. You do not seem to have lost your way.
Well, I had a bit of an epiphany recently.
You did. Do you mind saying it?
I have epiphanies every now and then.
Good.
The first epiphany I had, I'll let you know, was the fact I realized that men and women are not the same. And we should stop trying to understand each other. Because we can't. Because we're wired differently. So we can't understand each other. We can empathize.
Yes.
But literally, we can't understand each other. Right. The second epiphany I had, which was quite recently, was that I have a friend who is determined to be a victim. And always casts herself as hard done by, and everything happens to her, and, you know, she's just set up this. And I realized that what you project for long enough is what you become.
Yeah.
We were talking about how insecure we both were, and how we didn't like ourselves, and all those things that actresses go through. That was me inside. But what I projected to the world was strength. And guess what? I have become strong.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. It's so interesting. You sort of fake it till you are it.
And you don't even realize you are it until something like this happens.
Yeah.
And I was making jokes when I was doing his eulogy.
Bless you. Bless you. And probably brought great comfort to the people in that room.
Yeah. Because I didn't want to get up there and just wail.
Yeah.
I wanted them to see what our love was like.
Oh, Marina, that's so beautiful.
Because he made me laugh every day.
Oh, gosh. He did. Oh, I was just thinking earlier how funny you are. That you actually could make me laugh. I could just keep laughing through this, except then you wouldn't be able to speak, and I want to hear you. Did you make him laugh?
Yeah, well, he thought I was mad.
I love that. Oh, my God.
The interesting thing was, but for the longest time, I always told myself that I was so easy to live with. I'm not easy to live with. I am, as we say in my country, as mad as a box of frogs. I really am. And I get into a lot of scrapes that he would get me out of. With the police. I don't with the police. Just my big mouth gets me into, Deanna, as you know, my big mouth gets me into a lot of trouble, and my husband was always there to rescue me.
Can you tell us a story about you and the police that Michael?
Yeah, okay. So I've arrived back from a flight from Germany, and so it's a long flight, as you know, and I've come into Tom Bradley, and it's a zoo. And Michael's come to pick me up, and he calls me on my phone and says, I'm here. And I said, well, where are you? He said, well, I'm at the other end of the terminal. So I said, well, drive this end, for God's sake. I've got my luggage, right?
Yeah.
You can imagine. So he drives up, but where he has to park is a red zone. So we get the little short, I shouldn't say that. The little airport police, the traffic people at the airport.
Yeah.
They're like police auxiliary, right?
Yeah.
Well, I got into it with this guy because basically he was saying you can't park here, and I was saying if you just shut up for long enough and let us put our luggage in the trunk, we'd be gone by now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he starts trying to write me a ticket, at which point, I don't know what happened in my brain, but I walked up to him, I grabbed the pen and threw it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, my God. And what did Michael do?
He rescued me from getting arrested.
He grabbed you and threw you in the car.
No, it was a whole thing. It was a whole...
What happened?
Well, the actual police came. And he wanted them to arrest me for battery.
Oh my God.
I know.
Oh no.
And my husband, God bless him, God rest him, said to the police, "Look, she's Greek. She talks with her hands." She was just waving her hands around, and she knocked the pen out of his hand.
Oh, what a good husband.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's fabulous. And the police said, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, and actually, the one who was pissing and moaning to the end, I mean, I had attracted quite a crowd at this point. Basically, that was the best day to be a terrorist at LAX because I had all the police taking care of me at Tom Bradley.
Oh my
It seemed
God.
that every policeman at LAX was where I was. Anyway, as his boss walked me back to the car, he leaned in and said, "Don't worry," he said, "I've got one at home just like you." And
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Oh dear.
so yeah, my friends who love and put up with me, yeah, they know what I'm like. But my poor husband, he had to put up with a lot.
He clearly adored you.
He did, and I adored him.
That's so beautiful. I want to ask you about one more part of your life. If I can have you a little longer. We've gone past our hour, but
That's fine. No.
Okay, good. The play that you just did this past year, correct? In London, right? And you said in an interview, I think, or maybe you just said to me, it was very close to your life, correct?
It was about an aging sci-fi actress who used to be on a cult TV show.
I just wanted to get you to say that out loud. It's so funny. So when you read it, when it was brought to you, did you hear about it beforehand?
No.
Did they just send it to you? And when you read it, did you hesitate at all? Because
no. I called the director immediately. I said, "Okay, I have to play this part. No one else can play this part. I have to play this part." And it was so great because it was me.
It was you.
It was absolutely me. It was me, except that I don't drink and she was an alcoholic. But I could be me. It was the first time ever in my how long have I been an actress? 44 years of being an actor. It's the first time I ever played me.
Yeah, that's amazing. What did you find in that was new?
Oh, God, it was great. I'm really funny. And
you are, yeah. You are very funny.
And it was so, because I've always had to do accents. I've always had to do accents. I'm the Meryl Streep of the Greek actress community, right?
That's so
I
great.
always have to do accents. I didn't have to do an accent.
Oh, isn't that lovely? Just lovely.
I could I could talk like this. I could just say my lines.
It's so great. Was it different approaching it every night? Do you know how sometimes approaching a play night after night, there are moments when you just go, "Oh, I don't know how to go there. What am I, that's what happens to me. I don't know how to go there. I don't know how to surrender at 4:30 or 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock to this woman's story." So you didn't have to go through that transition?
I didn't. I just had to walk on stage.
That's really lovely. And
because, I got to pick the clothes. I got to, and I know that a lot of the purists would have said, yes, but people didn't talk like you back then. They all spoke perceived pronunciation, RP, received pronunciation. Yeah. Well, hello. Yes, I did when I was working.
Yeah.
But that was my era, the 80s and the 70s, right?
Yeah.
And of course I could do RP, but it wasn't who I was. This is who I am.
Oh, that's lovely.
So that fit too, you see.
And was the audience different as they witnessed you as opposed to a character you were portraying? Did you find a different reaction?
I have to be honest, most of them, obviously a lot of Trekkies came. from all over the world.
Correct.
I mean, God bless them. From
Every
every country. God bless them, honestly. I mean, it takes me all, my time to get in the car and drive somewhere to go and see somebody. Go and see my friend Armin Shimmerman at the Antaeus. What, you want me to drive to Glendale? Are you mad? I mean, come on, let's be honest. And these people flew, put themselves up in hotels. I mean, really, it was amazing. So a lot of them, were expecting to see Councillor Troi.
Yes.
And so that's a surprise, but they just want to adore you.
Oh, Marina.
Mary, they just do.
Yes, I understand.
And even people who weren't fans per se, who maybe read a review and came,
Yeah.
I think that, even it's like we've become on TNG, we've become what the original cast were, that even if you have never seen the show, you kind of know who the characters are, which is what I was with the original. I had never seen Star Trek.
Right.
But I knew who Spock and Kirk and all those guys, and Bones and, Scotty. I knew who they were.
Sure. Yeah.
And we've become that now.
Yeah, it's so wonderful. And you love the energy in that.
I do.
That's marvelous.
I do. I think we're actually privileged to be able to be in a genre where we can meet our fans and thank them in person for our blessings.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. I feel like I have learned more about what it means to be an actress because of conventions.
Yeah.
Than I knew about before when I was just an actress, or thought I was. And then since I've been doing that, and you go around the world and you get to really understand the meaning of the story.
Have you found that the longer it's gone on, you've kind of gotten more and more humble?
Yes.
Because when I started doing conventions, because I was doing the show and I thought I was the shit, right?
I get that. Yeah, I do.
Yeah. Because, I was this, successful actress, and I was deigning with my presence, kind of thing. But now I am really appreciating, maybe because it has been for me 30 years. Yeah. And I'm appreciating. I mean, I swear to God, I'm amazed there's anyone left on the planet who doesn't have my autograph at this point.
That's wonderful. Well, I have to tell you this. I think I told you this in Washington, but I think it was the second convention I had done. It was my first time in Mina and Marina. What is the German one?
FedCon.
FedCon. My first FedCon is where I first met you.
That's right.
And I saw you on a hotel floor in the suite. There was sort of a welcome suite near the elevator, and you were surrounded by some fans who were kind of taking notes about, I don't know, something that you were doing for and with them. And I was like, oh my God, she's actually sitting with the fans right here near her hotel room. And they may know which direction she walks in to go back to her room. I mean, I was so frightened by the openness of conventions and the direct contact.
And the proximity.
The proximity, because I bought into this illusion that what I did should somehow be protected. So, yes, I've become more humble.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that important.
Because they've been coming for 30 years.
They've been coming for 30 years, and they come from everywhere. And not only that, they offer so much to you. It's, at the beginning I thought, we're being paid to go offer. And my ego would get engaged, either fearfully or whatever. And now I feel like, wow, I have learned more about the meaning of the relationship to the world that an actor can have.
Yeah.
The fans that I didn't really know at all.
Yeah, absolutely true.
Yeah.
It's I always say at the end of every convention, and it will never change, you could be the best actor in the world, but if no one's watching you, you may as well be acting in your garage, right?
Right.
Or garage, as we say in England.
Yeah,
So it's the fans that keep you employed.
Correct.
Because they turn their TV sets on, or go see a movie, or
Yeah.
whatever it is. We're not successful in a vacuum.
No, we're not. But my experience prior to being in conventions and prior to this genre was I thought the little bubble that we were in was had its own power. And I now realize it has none whatsoever.
No.
None. Without the generosity and the devotion and the openness of the need for connections that fans teach you. You get to meet people from all over the world who do everything you can think.
And it's not, and what I've discovered is it's not actually about the autograph.
No, it's about the connection.
It's about that time they talk to you, they spend with you.
Yeah.
That's what it's about.
Yeah. Oh boy, when we're looking at the world now, and I know Mina's talked about this a lot lately, and wondering what's going to happen to the world of conventions. That's a really interesting.
I think it's going to be the last thing to come back.
The last, yeah. It's a tricky
one. Conventions and sporting events are going to be the last thing to come back.
Right.
So we just do what we can.
That's correct.
Are you learning another language? Are you using?
No, I thought about. I have a list of things I was going to do.
No, I'm not learning another language. I know three already. I think that's enough.
That is enough.
To be getting on with.
I only know one and maybe a quarter. I can navigate Paris well, and I have this list of things that I wanted to do of all these self-improvement and expansion things that I'm constantly haunting myself with before this happened. And I thought, well, here it is, I'll do it. And I've done none of them. But no, not a one. But what I have done is I just feel so grateful every day. I don't have to practice gratitude. It's a really interesting thing.
Right.
I don't have to stop myself and write in my gratitude journal or make myself meditate so I can get in touch with that feeling. It takes my breath away. How lucky I feel. And I'm so glued to the television. I never turn it off. And I know that people are saying we're watching too much. And I suppose that's true. But I can't go away from it.
Are you watching the news?
Oh, yes. Oh,
okay. Okay. I'm gonna be Councillor Troi now.
Okay, you can be. But here, let me just finish this. Now. Let me finish this and then you can come.
Okay.
I want to hold a certain kind of vigil to the loss. And I find that even though it's difficult, I don't watch the news conferences from the White House or anything like that. But I do want to look at as many stories that people are telling of their experience and stand by with it. I don't want to lose touch.
Okay.
With that. That's why I watch. But anyway,
okay. Well, I'm going to give you my two pennyworth. I tell you what I do. I TiVo or DVR, whatever the term is. I don't know. Morning Joe. I TiVo Morning Joe because it's
I do too.
Right, and I watch it when I wake up. Right.
Yeah.
And I read the New York Times.
Yeah.
And at the weekend, I read the LA Times as well. Okay. And then that's it for news for the rest of the day.
That's amazing.
That's it for news because there is no news, Mary.
Yeah, well, there is. Let me just
No, there isn't. There's just more numbers.
There's a lot of people working incredibly.
Oh, I know.
That's newsworthy for me.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
It's inspiring for me to watch Cuomo and Governor Newsom and Eric Garcetti in terms of what is being done in the community to help us even survive this. I know that there's no solution yet. And I know that there's that thing that's coming at us from the top is so horrifying that there is no good news. But when you look at the community that these people are gathering and you look at the leadership, they're spending 20 hours a day working.
I know.
To help in whatever way. And for me, being inspired by them, I suppose, is what I'm referring to. And it does help me. It helps me get off myself. It helps me feel like there is leadership somewhere because we don't have it at the top. And therefore I have a different, I think I feel a little bit more hopeful by watching them than I do.
Well, I definitely feel hopeful that we have Gavin Newsom.
Yep.
Because if you think about it, when you look at the chart of where we are, we're sixth as a state.
Yeah.
We are the most populous state. We should be first.
Right.
But because Gavin shut us down, he shut California down first. He was the first governor to shut a state down.
Yeah.
He has saved thousands of lives.
Correct.
Because we've had it's less than 1,000 deaths, I think. In California. I'm not sure of the exact numbers. But we have 40 million people in California. We're the fifth largest economy in the world. We have a lot of people, and way more people than New York, way more people than any other state. Right. And yet we're not number one in COVID-19.
Yeah.
And that's because of Gavin Newsom.
Yeah. You don't have to tell me. I know. And I, you know what else has been interesting as an actor to watch him, because he has gotten more and more and more comfortable in front of the camera and less worried about his appeal.
Yeah.
So the power that he actually wields, he's a very powerful man. He's really bright and clearly a good leader. And at the beginning of his press conferences, it was interesting to watch because he wasn't quite comfortable yet in that sort of daily briefing on a public level. And he has just become completely confident in that. And there's humility there. And there's humility.
Mm-hmm.
Cuomo, have you watched him at all?
Yeah, I do. I do watch him.
There's a lot of humility in these guys. They carry power, but they are learning maybe on their feet, or else they have inherent humanity. And it's so I find that inspiring.
Yeah.
I guess that's what I'm saying, But the rest of it,
I would suggest that if people are finding the news too depressing and it's making them depressed, that they should limit the amount of news that they watch.
Completely. Absolutely.
And that's Councillor Troi talking there.
Councillor Troi should start like a call-in.
Yeah, you know what? I would have to channel her, because Marina would give the totally opposite advice to Councillor Troi. Well, Councillor Troi would be like, and how does that make you feel? And Marina would be like, punch him in the face.
So I think you just gave me Marina advice, not Councillor Troi advice. So Mary, stop watching the fracking television.
No, that's watching TV. I'm watching Mad Men from the beginning, because I didn't see it the first time. Yeah, I love it. But then I'm watching everything that I missed the first time round.
Marina, do you watch Better Things?
No.
It's on HBO.
Okay.
And it's a half hour. And it's Pamela Adlon. She's a comedian and actress, and she had partnered originally in many ways with Louis C.K., and they created this. And then Louis C.K. came into his trouble, and he left the show. And there was question as to whether or not this show would continue without him. And this show has absolutely blossomed into one of the most outrageously daring women's stories on American television. You've got to take a look at it.
Okay, I will.
He's just doing the most
Okay, I'm going to suggest. Have you watched Years and Years? Oh, Mary.
Where is it?
It's HBO on demand, because it was on a few months ago.
Years and
Years?
Years?
Probably the best thing on TV in the last 10 years.
What is it about? I don't even know.
It's a British show. It's HBO with BBC co-production. So it's a mini-series. I think it's 6 episodes.
Okay.
It's about a female Trump-like figure in Great Britain, played by Emma Thompson. Right? Well, there you go. There's reason enough to watch it. Except that it is terrifying, because you watch it and you go, this is plausible.
Right.
This could happen.
Right. Oh my
goodness.
Really
good.
Olivia and I, we binged the first season of the television miniseries remake of the movie War of the Worlds from the 1990s.
On Epix.
On Epix. And what was really fun about it, it's done quite well, even though it's kind of hokey on some level of the premise because it's based on this idea. But they found a way through it that has artfulness in it. But what was really fun about it is it's so much scarier than what we're living through at the moment.
Okay.
For 48 minutes.
Okay, so
you're free.
So the fear is relative. It makes you realize that the fear is relative. Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's hard to say that with people who have lost loved ones, but it is kind of fun that way. It gives you a break. But anyway, Marina, maybe we call you back at some point and do another one if I want to do a follow-up.
Whenever you want, honey. What else have we got to do?
I know, but you know what? You said something earlier about the 80s or the 70s. I don't know. I don't know the decades anymore. I'm too old. But you said that was my time. And I feel like this is your time.
Oh, bless you.
I do. When I just watch one scene, one storyline, one scene in an episode, and the power of the entire episode was your layering.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
And I'm not just blowing smoke.
Well, you know that I love you. You know, and I know every Star Trek fan out there is going to have a connection, but I really loved Battlestar Galactica the most.
Oh, that's so funny. That's so funny. Well, we don't have a connection. We can love each other.
We can, but I really loved your show. I really loved your show. Yeah, and Eddie, I love Eddie.
I know.
Everyone. Katie's become a friend, you know, everyone. Yeah. Just great people.
Well,
God bless you, my darling.
This was wonderful. I'm so grateful. I really am. And
I'm going to go do my workout now.
Okay, go do your workout, and I'll keep in touch with you.
Definitely.
Okay,
Mina, thanks for doing this, baby girl.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Awesome. Love you both.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, everyone. Wow, that was just a great time with Marina. Anyway, I wanted to reach out before we leave each other today and say that we're almost ready to release the hours of interviews of the cast members of both productions of Gloria, A Life that I was able to attend. One I was in and the other I was able to, fortunately, see. Production from Princeton at the McCarter and ART at Harvard. We talked to most of the castmates. We don't have everyone yet. There's not going to be an interview with the actresses playing Gloria. That's myself and Patricia Callenber. Perhaps what we're thinking of doing is having Patricia and I have a conversation. We don't know yet. And I still have to interview the great Eunice Wong. So I will get to that too eventually. But we had to kind of pivot in a different direction given the situation we're in with COVID-19. So look for the beginning of the saga of Gloria, A Life coming soon. Okay, love you. Bye.